he's in a financial conflict of interest. But the Act says he's allowed to do that.
Now we finally know. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we know now why Mark Carney isn't getting charged, not having to pay any conflicts of interest violation penalties, considering he's got conflicts out the wazoo. I've been bringing them up here, whether it's in Ukraine, whether it's his 103, now 104 that I've discovered conflicts of interest, all his other 500 plus stocks that have multiple interests. He just met with the Qatar Investment Authority. Brookfield has massive $15 billion of investments in. CTV does an interview here. It clears it all up. We got a bunch of other stuff. Let's jump into this. Got this one here. A Tim Hortons manager in Ontario's Prince Edward County has been fired after he allegedly offered to pay an underage female employee $20,000 to marry his 25-year-old brother to help him get permanent residency. Is this elbows up? Are we winning yet? Oh, this is nothing but gossip pandering. There's literally a story on Rebel News breaking this down. People can say it's nonsense, but there's literally text messages that prove this. That's a problem you have when you have people like this who think they know more than they really know. Got this one from Kirk. It says Walmart is shutting down their Prince Rupert store because it is too dangerous to operate there. We'd like to provide Prince Rupert community with an update on the future of our store. With thoughtful consideration, we've made the difficult decision to permanently close the Prince Rupert store effective immediately. While the store was initially closed out of concern for the safety of our associates and customers, the prolonged closure has led to a larger review of the store location operations and our long-term plans. There's too much crime, too many gangsters, goons, thefts. It's not profitable. It's not safe to operate this store. They're shutting it down. Is this elbows up? On this episode of Far Off Ripoff, we've got this $3 million spent on scaling up information services for women farmers in Nicaragua. I keep telling you, gender-sensitive farming in Africa, well, this is the epitome of it. This project aims to scale up weather information services and smart agriculture approaches to help farmers understand risks, anticipate and manage extreme weather events, take advantage of favorable conditions, and adapt to change in Nicaragua dry corridor. I'm sorry, but the farmers of Nicaragua, this is insulting to them. They know how to farm their land better than Canadians or whoever they're sending over there to try to tell them how to do it better. Unless it's new technology that improves their farming, these people know their land and their weather better than anyone else. The project focuses on making weather information services more user-friendly and gender-sensitive to improve the ability of farmers, in particular women, to apply data. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Project activities include designing information services that better reflect and service women's needs in agriculture. This isn't real. This isn't a real program. This is nonsense. Developing new modalities and dissemination channels to make data more accessible to women. What does that mean? Somebody tell me what that means. Don't worry though, no audits on this, so this money is gone. $3 million, poof, vanishes like Houdini. Next up, moving over to CTV, I'm surprised they did this interview. Surprised they brought this guy on here, which exposes why Mark Carney is able to get away with all of his rampant conflicts of interest. Turns out our system is broken, and Canada doesn't have the most robust conflicts of interest rules, as like Stephen McKinnon always says in the House of Commons. Turns out our system is one of the worst.
For the first time in 12 years, the House of Commons Ethics Committee is reviewing the Federal Conflict of Interest Act. And a watchdog group is calling on the Prime Minister to reenact the PM Code of Ethics for ministers and their staff. Duff Conacher is the co-founder of Democracy Watch, a nonprofit and nonpartisan citizen advocacy group. And Duff is actually testifying before the Ethics Committee on this Wednesday. Duff, good to speak with you.
Good to talk with you as well. Thanks.
First, maybe give us an idea of why you feel it's important the Prime Minister's Code of Ethics is reenacted.
Well, there's a law called the Conflict of Interest Act, but then there's also a code. And a lot of the key rules are in the code, and they really should be in the law. But what happened was when Prime Minister Harper made it into a law about 20 years ago, he put these rules into a code and essentially said, oh, I'll enforce that. But the Ethics Commissioner considers that the code is required to be followed by cabinet ministers and other top government officials and cabinet staff. And what is happening right now is Prime Minister Carney became the new Liberal Prime Minister, and the code he has up on his website is from 2015 and signed by Justin Trudeau. And so this raises the question about whether he's planning to cancel that code or weaken it. I mean, why has he not reenacted it in his own name and sent his own message to all his ministers and top government officials that
I think we all know why. Just his interview the other day, he was asked about who he met with in the UK. He fumbled and bumbled and then said he doesn't know the disclosure rules, so he didn't want to say. Well, it turns out he was meeting with the Qatar Investment Authority, which you can see by these maroon and white flags. Brookfield has $15 billion invested with them, as well as the PMO office dropping BlackRock. Mark Carney also invested in BlackRock. These are all rampant conflicts of interest, and these are specific examples. They're not general. He should be getting fined and charged for all of these. So what he's doing here is just sweeping this under the rug, using Trudeau's signed code there so he doesn't have to address it. I mean, look at all of his stocks here. This guy's invested out the wazoo in everything, not to mention his own 103 self-disclosed conflicts of interest here. So eventually I will get through all of these, making videos on all of these things. But will it matter? Will Mark Carney just completely enrich himself and Canadians can't do anything about it unless we vote this guy out? I don't know. Seems like it.
They have to follow these very strict and strong rules in this code and not just comply with the very weak and loophole-filled rules that are in the federal government ethics law.
You know, this is interesting because Carney himself has come under some heat for conflict of interest. I'm sure that's some of your concern here.
Very much so, because while the code has a strong rule that says you can't be even in the appearance of a conflict of interest, the law has a huge loophole that says as long as you're dealing with something that applies generally, and 99% of the decisions the cabinet ministers make and the prime minister makes apply generally because they change general laws, they set up general taxes that apply to lots of people, subsidies, tax credits, those kinds of things, spending programs. They're all very general. And what the law says is you can't be in a conflict of interest if you're dealing with a matter that applies generally. And that's a giant loophole. It means that the federal ethics law does not apply 99% of the time to the decisions and actions of the prime minister and cabinet ministers and other top government officials. And so it really should be called the Almost Impossible to be in a Conflict of Interest Act. And that's very serious. And that's why we need this code enacted, because it has stronger rules and stronger ethical standards that would apply to the Prime Minister and his many financial conflicts of interest and other cabinet ministers as well.
Forget the general conflicts of interest here for a second, and let's just go specific, which should still qualify under those rules. Mark Carney breaching code of conduct here. Mark Carney mentioned Westinghouse, which Brookfield owns. He owns stocks of Brookfield. He's mentioned Atco, which is owned by BlackRock. He owns BlackRock. He's mentioned these two down here. Actually, three direct conflicts of interest. We've got Darlington Nuclear Reactor here, BWX Technologies and GE Verona. Mark Carney owns both of those. He also owns stocks in the Red Chris mine. Newport Corp, Mark Carney owns that, both direct conflicts of interest. He also has a direct conflict of interest in the Pathways project, which he's mentioned multiple times, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, Canadian Natural Resources. He's also mentioned Stripe and blatantly lied to Canadians during the election.
I have divested all my assets, with the exception of cash and personal real estate, house, I call it, into the blind trust, as is the route. It's a blind trust. I can't, what that means for those who follow us, I have no control over it anymore. It's a blind trust. I have no control. I cannot divest anything from it. I can't change that. The trustee manages it accordingly. I have set up screens for Brookfield and a company called Stripe that I used to be on the board of.
Listen to this guy fumble and bumble. He knows he's full of crap here. He knows what he's doing. He looks very nervous. You look at his eyes. They're twitching back and forth, back and forth. He's trying to pull a fast one on Canadians, and it seems it's worked on about 40% of this population.
I've set those screens up already well in advance. They'll be administered by the clerk of the Privy Council and the Chief of Staff. And as well, I have already filed months and months and months and months in advance with the Ethics Commissioner all the detail of when the divestitures happen, all the details of those assets. So
you notice he said months and months and months and months. Sometimes when people lie, they'll embellish something to try to hide the lie, and that's what that is there. Now, he did divest his assets to the Privy Council, all that stuff, and then they chose to release that after the election. Then Canadians wouldn't vote on knowing that he has 500 plus stocks, 103 conflicts of interest. And we can look at his body language cues. You notice he gets a smirky little smile that he can't really, it's hard for him to contain while he's lying. lying. Therefore, it tells us that it's a good possibility that he's lying in the future if he does this while speaking. This is deceptive practices. He says he put in screens, but those screens aren't doing anything. They knew back then that there was a big loophole and they're using it. They lied to Canadians, giving the illusion that there would be no conflicts of interest. He couldn't enrich himself when that's exactly what he's doing.
Again, I've complied with all the aspects. I've over-complied, in fact, well in advance, and this is the system we have. And
this is the system we have. He's taking advantage of a loophole. He's over-complied, yet he's taking advantage of a loophole here. Massive conflicts of interest. He's already made millions of dollars since being prime minister. Why are Liberal voters okay with this?
Are you able to point to any, specifics that these loopholes have enabled you're concerned about?
Well, Prime Minister Carney has already participated in decisions that affect Brookfield, this huge conglomerate company, which he was on the board of and owns stock options in. So he has shares, investments in this huge company that affects 103 other companies, according to the statement that he set up with the Ethics Commissioner. And then he also has financial investments in 550 other companies. And so pretty much every time Mark Carney makes a decision that affects business or participates in any discussion about a matter that would affect business, he's in a financial conflict of interest. But the Act says he's allowed to do that as long as what he's talking about applies generally. And again, 99% of what they would be talking about would be about changing a general law, a general tax. And so the law essentially exempts him from this financial conflict of interest, even though he has it. And that's a very dangerous situation. It essentially allows him to do what we've seen Donald Trump do in the States, which is profit from his own position as prime minister by making decisions that'll help all the companies he's invested in, Brookfield especially, and then their share prices go up and his investment value of his investments goes up. So that's how wide open it is. It's the sad joke of a law, and we need the law loopholes closed. And we need the code reenacted by Carney so that very strong and strict rules apply that ensure ethical government decision makings and ensure that cabinet ministers can't and the prime minister can't profit from their own decisions.
Well, we know you.
That's the truth of it there. A sad joke of the law. That's what we've got in our country. Liberals ripping off taxpayers, enriching themselves. We've been doing this for 10 years, and yet we still have got clueless Canadians still voting for these people.
We'll be making this case before the Ethics Committee on Wednesday. Duff, I want to thank you so much.
We'll see what happens with that. Probably nothing because these guys are untouchable. Got this one from Andy Lee. It says almost $500,000 last year went from taxpayers to Alphabet Sports Collective to address the need to create safer spaces and reduce barriers for the LGBTQ+I people in hockey communities. Yeah, this is where taxpayer money is going. Are we wondering why food is getting so expensive now? Get the money printer going again because we have more stupid spending to do. Speaking of stupid, we've got free tampons and a men's bathroom in the University of Saskatchewan Law School. Elbows up. Here's another elbows up moment. We've got the river in Brampton has become heavily polluted. This is disgusting. I've pointed this out so many times. If you bring in too many people from India and they don't know the rules here, they just start littering like in India, it's going to start to look like India. You can go on Google Maps, drop the little man icon anywhere in India, and you will find garbage. We can't have this in our country. We enjoy a clean environment here. And along the same lines, we've got more people illegally fishing during the salmon run. These are salmon poachers. They should be put in jail for a year each. $10,000 fine, put them in jail for a year. Straighten them out. Once again, people who are coming from South Asia need to do a test. They need to pass the test. They need to know all the answers to the question. It should be 100% score to get citizenship. And one of those questions should be, are you allowed to poach fish from the rivers during the salmon run? The answer is no. Next up, we got a good old-fashioned carjacking. It says father and son get injured trying to fight off attackers.
This Honda CR-V at 2023, it's a hybrid. Two carjackers decided that they wanted to get this car between 3 and 4 a.m. overnight here in the west end of Toronto. And what they didn't expect was the dogs saw them, heard them. The family woke up, and all 4 members of this family came out to protect that car. This is a castle law kind of case. The robbers are used to getting away, and you wake up in the morning, the car's gone. This time they had to deal with a family, but it got pretty scary, as members of the family described.
They tried taking the car, but my dad was brave enough to stop the guy. I came out and took his place and just chased him off.
Was he actually in the car?
Yes, he was. The car was on and everything. The door was closed. My dad opened the door, pulled them out, and then I guess he started hitting him with the crowbar or whatever it was to open the car. And then I rushed in and I saw him on the floor, so I wasn't thinking, I just chased him away.
And in the process,
Wow, so you catch that. The carjackers were in the car just about to drive away. The dad comes out, tries to pull the guy out. Carjacker pulls the crowbar, starts pow-powing the dad with the crowbar, knocks him down. The son jumps on the carjacker. I mean, this is unreal. Everyone needs to have a Louisville Slugger in their house. Aluminum bat, super light, go straight for the noggin. Don't stop swinging until they stop moving.
he was cut. There was lots of blood. He was taken to hospital. He was stitched up. He's home now. He's okay. The son took chase after these guys. He got a real good description of them for the police.
The guy that was trying to get the car was in all black hoodie. His hoodie was on, black pants, black shoes. He had a face mask covering his nose and his mouth. Other than that, I couldn't tell. He was at least 6'1", around 6'1", maybe late 20s, early 30s. He wasn't too old.
He fell in the process and he got kind of a bloodied up knee. It's a really scary situation, but it's also a great debate because people are no longer waiting for the police. They're certainly not waiting for the courts to do the right thing when the police catch carjackers or people that are home invaders. But it's dangerous.
The courts are going to do what the Liberals have put in law, which is to allow these people out on the earliest possible opportunity. I don't know why the earliest opportunity is nearly immediately. The earliest opportunity should be 5 years, and they should be charged with up to 10 years. Not a couple hours out the door, go rob someone else's car. As for the description, guy wearing all black, mask, late 20s, I mean, are they going to find this guy? Probably not. Louisville Slugger, go for the ankles. If you have to, go for the head. That's what you have to do if someone is going to end your life. Immobilize them.
It's dangerous business. And you can see that. We had a father that was killed in front of his family, and this was a very close call. But the sweet part about it is the carjackers didn't get the car. These guys got the better of these carjackers. They're not used to that. That's the silver lining in this story with Jack Boland in the west end of Toronto.
Those carjackers are coming back tonight or tomorrow night or a week from now. They will get that car. That's the sad truth.